with the Bud. It's been a little bit. You guys haven't seen anything on this in a while. It's been sitting here. It rolled off the truck, parked in the building since the shows. Had a great time. A lot of you guys got to see it. It was great when we got to meet you guys at the Decatur show. But we've got numbers for you. All kinds of stuff. So be prepared. We got the weight of the tractor. We've got how much time it took to build the tractor. We've got how much money we have in the tractor. And we've got future plans for the tractor in this video. So hang tight, grab your popcorn, sippy cup, because we don't want to spill anything. And let's get to town. So yeah, first thing though, the price.
I mean, how does 820,000 sound?
Yeah.
Seems like a bit much, huh?
For that. Well, I've got some chicken scratch here to back those numbers up, so we'll get to that. All right. So, got a couple things to go over.
Ooh. Hey Nick, look. That looks good.
Yeah, with the wide angle lens makes the center look smaller.
Yeah.
So this cost of this tractor, we go over the cost first.
Seems a little ridiculous.
Or should we do the weight first? I don't know. I never put a pull out. I was gonna say, what do you guys think it weighed? And I never did it, so I'm sorry. So make your guesses now, and then we'll tell you in a second.
Well, I don't think we should tell them just yet. I mean, I think we need to talk about some other things. Like, what was the inspiration of this tractor? Like, what was the thing that made us want to tackle this thing?
I forgot to turn the furnace off. It's gonna run in the background.
I guess you guys get to listen to me for a little bit. So, I don't remember how many years ago, but this tractor frame here was listed, I'm gonna say 5, 7 years ago, and I knew the guy that had it, and I wanted it. So it's been in the back of my brain for quite a while. As far as what finally made us buy this tractor and do it was those engines, I would say. Yeah. Those engines were the key component to make this tractor happen. When we saw those go up on Marketplace,
which we'll go over the price in a minute.
Yes, we decided let's build a tractor for a spare tractor because we need another one.
It's going to be our main tractor.
Yeah, actually.
And then one of the other ones will become our spare tractor.
We're going to use it. We're going to use all the Buds. We use them all.
Yeah.
So, anyways, where should we go from
Plus,
now?
we got 8 boys coming up on this farm. So, well, there's 2 girls too. They can drive a big bud. So we need
10 kids
10
on this farm.
grandkids. Yeah. So we need 10 big buds. So we're
not including dogs.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we need equipment for them to stay busy. But we also need equipment for them to work on it. So I figured this is a good thing for them to learn.
So long story short, last year, engines popped up, transmissions popped up, new tractor, dots started to connect, talked to our tire sponsor and some other things, and it just all made sense. So
it just kept amplifying. At first, we weren't just like gonna go to this extent.
Yeah.
But that wasn't our plan. We were just gonna build a tractor for use on this farm. So just understand, this was not for you guys only. Like, this is for us to use on our farm. We built it to make it work for our farm.
There was an individual
that
said it was gonna be a Princess tractor.
Oh, did he? Yeah. Okay, well, you're kind of right.
It was just for
But
looks.
you guys made it become more because our sponsors and people and everything, and it just kept, so you guys made it happen.
So
to the extent that it is now.
Anyways, let's break some numbers down for you.
Okay.
So we get to that $820,000. Yeah. So, disclaimer, I did not keep logs of every single item we got with this tractor. We know real close the amounts that we paid for everything. We do have receipts for a lot of the large items. We allowed some allowances in there for randomness, for grinder blades that you went through.
There's wiggle room on everything.
Plasma tips. We try to include a lot of the consumables. So there's things that we forgot that we put on this thing that I don't even remember that we put on it. So zip ties.
So we basically just kind of got a big lump sum of everything that's in, like, we got an idea what it's roughly.
We're going to be between $1 and $1 million. So you guys can probably just figure it out. Okay. Anyway, so tractor. We bought the tractor for
$10,000.
$10,000 is what the frame was. That was just,
and that was free delivery too.
It was free delivery. Thanks,
Dusty.
The man. That was awesome. So yeah, the frame was $10,000. That was no engine, no transmission, gutted. Well, the cab actually wasn't gutted. Tires were shot.
Thrashed. Although all the glass was intact. This is still the original glass.
Original tint too,
which is amazing.
Factory tint.
So I got
10 grand for the tractor. Okay, engine.
So the engine was, well, we got 2 engines and 2 transmissions, but we're just going to talk about this engine.
Yeah.
$14,000 for this engine.
14 for the KTTA 19, and it's a great engine. It runs awesome. You guys have heard
It's got
sound.
literally hardly any hours.
Yeah,
on
it was
almost brand new.
It's
Recon, so remanufactured.
Coming. So transmission.
So
$1,000.
it was $1,000 for the transmission, but we had to have some work done to it. We had to have a different flywheel in it because the transmission and engine were separated and there was a drive shaft in between the two. We needed to mate those two together, which means we had to have a shop, put a different flywheel in it, do some other stuff to
There was
it.
an extra gear for a power takeoff, a bunch of testing. That brought it up to $12,100 in transmission. So it went from 1,000 to a little over about 12,000 total.
Which is still fairly cheap.
for a
That's
monster transmission
Right.
like that. Lights, got $1,000 in the lights. Gauges, $2,600 in the gauges. I think there's actually a little bit more than that because we kept adding some towards the end, but that was random emails that I couldn't seem to find. So let's just say $2,600 for gauges. That's senders as well. Oil, I added up. The hydraulic oil is a little over 100 gallons, 100, 110. Engine oil is about 13 and a half gallons. Transmission's like 25 gallons. The chain case is 5 gallons, and then the axles are 25 gallons with planetaries each. So that's roughly, I didn't
what
add
about
that.
the window wiper fluid?
I didn't add that in there.
No, we
But
actually don't have that.
at an average price of $15 a gallon, I just put that because gear oil, there's a lot of gear oil, a lot of hydraulic oil, anyways, it's about $3,000 in oil. So $3,000 in oil to fill this thing up. Coolant, about $200. Cab insulation, $1,000. Paint and primer, we bought pretty cheap paint and primer. Van Sickle, it's great for white. I don't know if I would have bought it.
Funny thing too, just on the paint. We painted this thing. When Demco was looking to match the cart with the same color, they asked what kind of paint we used and paint color, and I sent it to them. And they came back like, we use that company too, and it's the exact same color, so awesome!
Yeah, that was great.
Okay, cool. They like it, we like it, so.
I figured $1,100 in paint. Iron, this was kind of a tough one because we bought iron on and off, didn't have the receipts for everything, but I figured about $4,000 in iron. That's the 2-inch piece in the back, that's a lot of sheets of diamond plated.
We had to extend the front out 12 inches, there's all that 3/8
length in the hood, building the dash and the cab. There was iron added all over the place. I guess I forgot to put all the railing and everything in there too.
Well, that's cheap
The
stuff.
black pipe for all the railings, everything. There was iron all over the
Now here's the kicker. Out of all that iron, all the scrap pieces, how much went to waste?
Yeah,
not a whole lot, to be honest.
not too
We
bad.
used a lot of good stuff. Yeah.
So $4,000 in hydraulic or in iron. Hydraulics, 25 grand is what we got. Pumps are about 35 a piece, so $7,000 in pumps. Steering sector, 2,000 probably.
A little higher than that.
A little higher than that. Your Danfoss hydraulic valve system, which, by the way, we haven't quite tackled yet. Thank you guys for sending us emails on that. We're getting to that. We got ideas what's wrong with it. We're not, nothing wrong.
There's like 2% on this tractor that needs to be finished out, and that's one of it.
So, but that was $6,000 for that. The joystick that we're going to use for that was $800. And then you got thousands in fittings, hydraulic hoses, screens.
I don't even know where to begin on all the fittings, because that took a long time to figure out. So we just kind of got a ballpark of 25,000,
about
which
20.
is
Yeah.
probably, I would say, almost spot on.
Having the tractor sandblast, $1,500. Decals, having them made at Hills County Printing in Havre. I said them because they do a good job. They've done a lot of our other equipment, and they're really good at doing big bud stuff. So if you guys got big buds, Hills County Printing in Havre, Montana is the place to go. $1,500 for decals. Drop box, $6,000.
Yep, so that was
the
a
PTO drop
remanufactured.
box. PTO drop box.
Came off of a 580/620 case IH Steiger.
From like the earlier 2000 or mid 2000.
And it was the remanufactured one, but that made it happen, so go ahead.
Electrical, we have $1,500 electrical. That's fuse panels,
Wire.
a lot of wire.
By the way, we figured roughly there's at least 1,400 feet of wire put on this thing.
Yeah,
At least.
if you strand them all out.
And that's not including the GPS system stuff.
the
That's just
harnesses.
what we put on for all the gauges and all the different things to go tie. Yeah, at least 1,400 feet.
Batteries, I have $600 for the two 8Ds.
They're not 8Ds. They're
Are they 40s?
40s.
40s. So I got 300 a battery.
No, that's about right.
Welding wire, I quit keeping track over like 150 pounds, but
How many rolls do you think we went through?
well, we used 10s and a bunch of 33 pounders. So
Well, we used 330. Yeah,
Yeah,
we used well,
it's a blur, but I got $1,000 in welding wire and gas. About $500 in wire, about $500 in gas.
Yeah.
Could be more than that. The tube and shell cooler, that's what cools the transmission, uses coolant from the engine radiator system to cool the oil in the transmission. That was $500.
Yep.
The radiator was $2,500 off a
Yep.
Kohler genset. PTO. This is all the parts for the PTO, the universals, the drive shafts.
To make
the-
your own drive shafts, all the
the
components to
fitting.
connect those. Yep. How much was that again?
$2,300 in PTO stuff. The axle yokes, we had to get Cat axle yokes. They're about impossible to get these days. We happened to find a couple of them because we didn't have them for the axle. So those were $1,500 a piece. So that's $3,000 there. Random consumables, that's where I said earlier, $500 random consumables. That's probably a lot higher than that. Honestly, I'm probably being conservative, but that's just your odds and ends parts or tools you're using to make the tractor that you have to replace because they wear out as you're using them. Muffler, $700.
Yeah, about that.
The Ram Air, goes on the top of the intake on the other side, $700 for that. Air cleaner, $500.
Yeah, it was about 500.
Steering wheel column and steering wheel, $400.
Now consider a lot of these components were used too, so they're not all brand new.
Yeah, we did.
So-
A lot of these are secondhand stuff.
Yeah,
Some of
it's
it's
still
new.
good. There's still good stuff.
Yeah. Joystick, this isn't for the Danfoss system. This is for just your regular
So
PTO
like your horn and like your hydraulics and if you to engage your GPS.
$500.
Yeah, it was about 500 for it. I tried to find one.
The chain for the chain case, $6,000, but actually I forgot to add in there the tariff that applied to that. So
And we also bought a spare one too because.
so you're actually like $7,500. I don't have that on there, so we'll just
So
that's in a wash.
7,500 times 2.
For the chain.
We have a spare chain because we have 3 of these tractors now that have the same chain.
Had to replace the injection pump on this engine because originally it had one governor for a truck, but because this is a tractor, you need 2 governors because you want the tractor to accelerate the RPMs when it's under load and then let it back down.
So yeah, that was
$3,500 for a
And
for
then
injection
this
pump.
engine did not have air on it, so there was no air compressor. So we added air compressor pump on it, and that was how much?
$500. Air brakes, roughly $2,000 in air brakes. That's relays, fittings, tubes,
Lines.
brake chambers, all that good stuff. Didn't change the pads. Probably should. Maybe someday we will. And then I have random small parts. These are things that we just totally forgot that we put on it, but it's on it, and we don't remember what we paid
It
for
could
it.
be little connectors to like crimped on pieces to
Yeah.
like fittings to like tiny.
This is just to cover everything else that's on this thing that we don't have on
It's
it.
so hard to keep track of it.
$5,000.
Yeah.
So
Seems like a bunch of money right there, but there was a lot of tiny little pieces that went in to make this thing.
our grand total that Welker Farms paid out of our money for this tractor is $114,700.
Oh, shut the front door, Nick.
Yeah, 115 grand basically.
Okay, you can.
Now.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, 115 grand of our money went into this thing. Okay, now we have sponsors, which wouldn't.
sponsors.
This tractor would not exist if it wasn't for this. So here are the sponsors, and thank you guys for letting this happen. First up, and obviously the biggest, is Titan Tires. These LSW 1400s for this setup were more because they had to build custom rims for this tractor. Now, if you were to buy these tires for a standard combine or four-wheel drive tractor out there that are produced today, it don't cost as much because they mass produce the rims for it.
Now, just so you know, Titan Tire worked with a company called
Wold. Yeah, Wold Rim and Tire.
They worked with me on trying to get those rims to bolt up to this axle because they didn't have anything that matched to it, and that was a challenge. But they nailed it.
They nailed it, yeah. So
Nailed it.
total on that, $70,000. That's for 4 tires, 4 rims, custom made. Thank you, Titan Tire and Wold Rim and Tire. C&H Guidance Technology, that's all your ISOBUS system, your Pro 1200 Plus, your RS1 on the top, the HDU.
The steering cylinder sensor.
Yep, the steer cylinder position
All
sensors.
the harnesses. I mean, they're just a bunch of stuff.
That was from C&H Parts. Thank you, C&H Parts, for working with us. And that was $20,000. Clean Fix fans. So that's the reversible fan that's on this thing. Beautiful fan. Kept the tractor very cool. Blows a ridiculous amount of air out of it. That ran just under $5,000. So $5,000 for that. Logan Clutch. They were the key in making the mechanical PTO work.
Yes, they are.
And with all the parts that associated with their clutch and everything, around $6,400 for that clutch. Case
Now, an update on the clutch. We might as well just announce it now. This was unknown territory. On paper, the clutch that they sent us should have done what we were wanting it to do. But it required a little bit more than it should have and just couldn't take the load. So what they're going to do is they're in the works of getting us a bigger one.
a lot bigger.
A lot bigger to put on this tractor. So
We're going to be.
which they're like, hey,
it worked perfect.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It just wasn't heavy enough to handle the
soft start feature. I mean, there's no jarring of any kind of drive shaft. There's no it's a sweet system.
So that upgrade's coming. We'll talk about it more in a minute. But so that technically the newer one would be a little bit more money if you figure the value in it. But anyways, the Case IH seat that's in there, now it's hard to put a price tag on that because I don't know what those cost. And two, it was in a Magnum prototype tractor is where they originated from, and they were gonna get thrown away because they can't resell those seats after I put 2,000 on a prototype or 3,000 hours on a machine.
Right.
So it was a used seat. So I just put $2,000 because it's a beautiful leather seat, and I'm sure those things are more than that new, quite a bit more than that. I imagine, maybe I'm off, but so I got $2,000 in the seat, and then the PTO gearbox that goes on top of the transmission. We traded some parts for the transmissions that we got with an individual down in California.
Yep.
And he sent us that PTO takeoff that bolts to the top of that Allison 6000.
Which then the Logan clutch bolts to that. So
we didn't have those. We just put $1,500 for that thing because that's kind of a rough ballpark for what that would be. So grand total.
And we also got that Lovejoy too from a guy that sent us.
Yeah, I don't know how to cost. 500. I don't know 1,000. I don't know what that thing's worth. I don't have that included in here, but total grand, and then the air horn from Dennis.
Oh yeah, we can't.
I don't have that included in there too. So that was like, I don't know, $200-300. Yeah. So when you're said and done, I have $104,000
of sponsors.
So basically $104,900. So $105,000 in sponsorship to this tractor in value that was added to it.
So okay, we have about $115,000. And then it's $104,000.
105, yeah, 104. So we're $219,600 total combined with Welker Farms and sponsors. Now, that big number that we just totally got you guys caught with.
Yeah.
Tricked you, didn't we?
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna ask, how much time did you guys put into that tractor?
Let me ask you this question. What are you worth, Nick?
Well,
what do you think your hourly pay should be? That's a tough number because we're kind of everything. You name it. Yeah. We're machining, fabricating, welding, hydraulics to painting to you name it. We're all over the place. So how do you put a number on what we're worth?
If you took this tractor to a shop and had their crews do it, we went with an hourly rate of $150 an hour, and that's hydraulic guys to technology guys to electrical guys to mechanic guys,
but
that's honestly rates are up to 200 in a lot of places an hour for a lot of the stuff. So 150 hour. Now there was 3 of us. The majority of the work was done between Leg Arms and myself, and my dad did contribute quite a bit, but not quite as much as us two. We figure from the beginning of this project, not including a lot of sickness that happened in the middle.
How many months do you think we actually worked on it?
It was about 7 months.
Roughly.
7 months that we went to town on this tractor.
Now there was about 9 months roughly of the time period of working on this, but we have to think about being sick. We also had to seed and spray. We had other things going on. We had farming, So we couldn't do all the 7 months, so we figured, anyways.
Yeah, so 7 months, this tractor went from being a frame and parts to a fully functional running tractor. We figured 25 days per month we worked on it. So just a couple days we didn't, but most of the time we were in here during that whole time. It was just nonstop.
Yeah.
So that equates to 175 days of work on this tractor. Out of that 175 days, we figure we pulled 10-hour days, most of them.
Just a good average. There was longer days, and there was a few shorter days.
And like he was saying, some of this work we took home. There was a lot of sitting there at home on our phones, on our computers.
Before we even started to work on this tractor, there was at least 2 months or 3 months of planning of getting parts situated, things, figuring out this, getting this order, getting that order. So we had a bunch of parts available before we even started wrenching on it.
So you're not doing that while you're wrenching.
I didn't factor any of that in of the hours.
So we just do 10 hours a day because I think that's a good buffer for all those times that we were working outside of the shop for this thing. So that adds up to 1,750 hours a person. So 2 of us, that's 3,500 hours. And then we figured my dad put about 500 hours of his own time in during that whole period. So we're at 4,000 hours, man hours, to build this tractor. 4,000 man hours times $150 an hour brings you right at $600,000. So $600,000 in labor is what went into this tractor. If you were to take a professional shop at $150 an hour and have them go to town and build this thing. So add that to $220,000 in parts and other expenses, and you got $820,000 for a 700,000 horsepower.
So
700 horsepower tractor.
70,000 horsepower tractor.
Yeah, 70,000.
70,000
horsepower tractor.
Yeah, we just run the number up a little higher.
So that's where we get the $820,000. If you were to have this tractor built somewhere else, that's possibly what it could run you,
So
which is nuts.
now, was it worth it? There was some long days, and it's been a long year. I would say yes, it was.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Or do I want to do another one just like this? No, not anytime
Not
soon.
right now.
No, that was a lot. This should have been at least a 2 to 3 year project. That's what it should have been.
I have chronic pain in my hands now. Going from this, working hard on this, jumping right into harvest and getting ready for harvest. Something happened during that period, and my hands, they hurt all the time. Just throb constantly. I'm icing them, heating them and stuff. I haven't given them a break. I just keep working. So we're going to talk about this in a future video, but we're going to take a little bit of a slow down.
The main thing too is our families have given us a lot of grace, and we need to make sure that we're able to spend time with our families.
Yeah, we need to do some fun stuff.
That is the key thing there. And by the grace of God, we've had the opportunity to do this, and it's been a journey. I'll tell you guys, it's been a very amazing journey, but we're excited to spend some time with our families.
Yeah.
So
my hands hurt, back hurts.
we're back at that again.
Body's just hurt, and I'm gonna be 40 in a couple months. It's crazy. So with all that said, it took a lot of work, and we're not saying that like, wow, we did more than anybody in this world could ever done. It's not that. It's just it really did tax us personally. Not compared to anybody, it was a very taxing,
Mentally,
overtaking. Yeah. So, but it's awesome, and so the tractor is mostly done, and that is where we got.
now the other thing too is this isn't part of the tractor, but another sponsor that really worked with us is Demco.
Yeah.
That added a whole nother flair to this tractor. We did not build this tractor for a grain cart this year. That wasn't the plan. In fact, this tractor was never really designed to be a full grain cart tractor. This is meant to run an air drill.
Yeah, that was our primary.
That was our primary deal. So the transmission that's in this thing is meant for pulling and working the tractor. But we had the opportunity to make it work with a grain cart. Is it completely wonderful functional? Like, you can't, there's some things on it that's a little inconvenience. It's a little difficult to run at some point, but it can do it.
Yeah.
So that's just to give you an idea. We
Now,
had the opportunity to do it, so we decided to do it.
what is ahead of us for this tractor? We do need more things. We do have more things to do to this tractor before spring farm work coming next year. One, obviously, the Logan clutch has got to get put in when we get it, the new clutch. We're going to take the drive shafts off and the PTO, and we're going to balance them, have them all balanced. So I'm going to take them to a shop, have them gone through. Found some cracks on the hood that I think were there. We just didn't know they were there, and a little water got on this after its trip to Decatur and Grand Island, and now there's a little bit of rust appearing just where the bolts bolt. So probably have to take the hood off, and clean that spot up, and weld it up, and repaint it. There's a couple little leaks here and there underneath, nothing too serious, but just a couple little spots that we need to touch up on. The cab's not 100% finished yet.
We need to finish a little bit of
Wiring,
wiring, just a
button
little,
up.
there's not much, but a little bit of wiring.
Yeah.
We need to finish the panels for either a vinyl. We can never find the right vinyl. That's what was frustrating.
We were trying to match the other buds as the thing, and the company that we bought it from several years ago changed their colors.
So we'll probably come up with something different and snazzier.
A lot of the people think that just the black looks good as is, so maybe we'll just
Right.
figure out a nice black and just
Maybe we'll just do like a black and red, gray, silver,
yeah.
mixture.
So,
I don't know. We'll get to it.
so the cabby's buttoned up. There's some things in
The
there.
main thing that makes this tractor not really functional with an air drill is the hydraulics. We have to figure out the Danfoss controls,
Yeah.
and we didn't quite fully understand what we bought. Now,
Well-
the valve unit is good.
Yeah.
It's a good unit,
It's not its fault.
but we just have to figure out how to wire it and maybe find a controller or something. We'll figure it out.
The dilemma on that is it has one HPVE valve and 3 HP VOs. I think is what I write.
Yes, and
I might be using that wrong.
that's 24 volts.
And so the VOs are a CAN bus controller valve, proportional valves. So you can that's how on your touchscreen on the modern tractors, you can set the percentage of the valves open and close. You can start slow or open slow, starts or close slow. A lot of features that can do. It's a computer system basically. We want one of those to run our fan on the cart, and we have the joystick to do that.
Right.
The other valve, the one that we thought was supposed to be for the fan, but it turns out not, that's what we need for the remotes.
Right.
So we need to sell take 2 of the HPVOs off and get 2 more of the HPVEs, have 3 VEs on there that it can be binary controlled through a rocker switch, and then the one valve, maybe 2 in the future if we have an air cart that has dual fans, but will be run off the joystick, which is a CAN bus system.
The only other way is you have to have a control unit that the Danfoss will go into the control unit, and then whatever function you want to have goes into that control unit. That controller unit then talks to the Danfoss. That's another option, but we still have to investigate and figure out. It's going to cost money either way we're going to do it.
And from what I understand, you got to have someone with a laptop to program all the parameters and everything on that to get it all set up. It sounds like a headache. And
we like Danfoss, but come to find out, they're pretty difficult to try to get information from.
Yeah, it's been difficult. But a lot of you guys replied. I have 15 emails. They're all saved and bookmarked in my email. I replied to all you guys recently. And a lot of experts have said, so I've got a whole archive of guys out there that have already told us what we need to do, and they're available. So when we start
how do we get around to run the hydraulics in the cart then?
You mean for next year?
No, this year. How do we, because we didn't have any of that working. What was our method?
Oh!
Well, okay. Demco cart has one hydraulic valve body that's on the cart, and then it's got a joystick. So you just need to have flow going to it, and then it'll control all your features with that remote. So what we did is we had a little ratcheting wrench,
1/4 inch ratchet wrench,
and then there's a little spot on the valve, and we just ratcheted it down.
They have a manual spot where you can put a wrench on to open and close the valve.
So you literally went back there and ratcheted it down to keep the flow to the cart, so it's max, and then we're able to run it.
That's how we ran the cart.
That's not how we want to run it for the rest of this life on the track. We worked very hard and barely met our deadline.
Yeah.
So that was just, all right, it works, go.
So you never know what we're going to find out in the future here when this thing gets hooked to a heavy load. I don't know what it's going to do. It hasn't really, I had that cart full pulling some hills and stuff, and I ran it hard, but not to the extent that an air drill is going to do to this thing. So there might be some surprises ahead of us.
And what we have for air drills are 70 feet. And they're about 12-inch spacing is what this thing will be pulling.
550 bushel
in the future, you never know what you might be doing.
Everything gets bigger and heavier.
Right.
So that's unknown there. And then the transmission does shift hard. It's just that Allison. It's a big old brute of a transmission. It's kind of archaic. There's not a lot of options we can do, but we are in talks with some at Allison, and there's a chance we possibly might be able to get a couple things softened on it. But we did learn by running the idle RPM down low, that really shifts smooth when you're going into reverse.
One thing I think that you have to understand, this came out of a 200,000 pound mining truck.
Yeah.
So the way that it's set up is you use your foot throttle, full throttle, you want to get going, it'll just shift. Well, the way they have the parameters set for that truck is different than what we're trying to do with this tractor.
Yeah.
So where we want to set our RPM, it's not thinking, oh, it's not full throttle. You just want to set it here. I'm not going to shift right, so you have to throttle all the way up to get it to shift. But then downshifting is a little different because we want to just back it off a little bit. So our application isn't really what the parameters on that controller is trying to tell the transmission. So we got to do a little bit of work on it.
There's options.
Yes.
We've got an individual down in Australia who's really been helpful for us.
Right.
And we got a programmer, thanks to one of you guys who sent us a programmer, or scanner, I should say, so we can read codes on everything. So,
but here's the problem with the TCM that's in here. It's old enough where that knowledge and to find the people to program it is almost, it's hard.
It's old C-Tech one.
So we're going to have to try to either upgrade it to a newer technology and see if we can make it happen, which, like he was saying,
there's possibilities.
We'll figure that out.
Unless we happen to come across, which I don't want to do, but a cheap, like a C-Tech 5, C-Tech 4, I don't know if that's what it'd be, 6,000 series that's like this. But that's updated. That has all the internal sensors that lets you.
What does that mean? Is we got to pull that whole entire transmission out and swap it,
Not want to do that.
and we don't know what the other transmission. We know this one's solid.
We'll see if we get to there. And that shifting heart isn't really bad. It's just that chain and stuff. I just don't like it.
Running an air drill, not a problem.
Yeah,
running a grain cart, that's a different.
That's where it was. It was a little bit much. You're going fast, slowing down. Going fast, slowing down. An air drill, one speed all day long. Another quick thing. Many have asked for it, and yes, it's coming. We are having die-cast models made of this tractor.
What's a die-cast, Nick?
Well, 1/64th, I think is what we're gonna go with, but there could be some 1/16ths depending on how it goes. And Demco cart, matching cart will be made.
So basically what you're saying, Nick, is toys.
Yes.
There's gonna be toys of this thing.
Yeah, the Big Bud toys.
Is that crazy or what?
The exact same thing. So expect that in the future. We've been working with some friends of ours, the Williamson family. They own the Big Bud 747, as well as the Big Bud name and whatnot, and they are super ecstatic to do this with us. So probably 2026 is the estimated release time of those die-cast toys.
So here's a question. How many toys are going to be produced?
I have no idea.
That's a good question, because if there's 6,000 toys produced...
820,000. We'll match how much it costs.
Okay, there's enough for everybody.
Yeah, there you go. Y'all get some. Anyway, so stay tuned for that. We'll have updates in the future as we get it, but it is coming. I have not announced that yet, so it's officially announced now. So yes, toys are in the works. It's gonna be awesome. Future videos coming up. We're gonna talk about our farm, some updates on the farm, this is how our season went this year, maybe some of our yields that we came up with. Outlook of what's ahead. You guys, I'm sure, have been itching at, what are you going to do next? Well, we're going to talk about that, what this winter is going to look like, and go from there. So stay tuned. When we feel like it, we'll record that. And then, a lot of people have asked for equipment tour, an updated equipment tour. We'd like to get one of those done, go through a lot of the same stuff you guys have already seen, but just go through an update on what our equipment is. And then a lot of people have asked for a shop tour. Maybe we could do a brief shop tour too and just kind of give you an idea of all the randomness of tools that we have in here, that half of them are junk and half of them are okay. And
it's years and years and years of acquiring stuff, so we're not just branded on a certain tool. We're just kind of like, this works, go with it.
Harbor Freight sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
No,
but everything has its place.
So anyways, thank you all. Hope you're having a great day. Hope this video gave you a little bit of insight on what's going on. Oh, the weight.
Oh,
the weight!
The weight of the tractor.
How much does this girl weigh? That is the final thing.
Okay, what was your thought in how much do you think it was going to be when we're said and done?
I knew that this tractor was probably in the ballpark of 43 to 45,000 pounds with the original components it was built with in Big Bud back in the day. That was about 46,000, probably full of fluids and everything.
Now granted, that's with duals.
Yes, duals, 30.5 32s, no added weight, that's just tractor weight, okay? The LSWs we found don't weigh quite as much as duals. They're close, but not quite. It's like they're like 400 or 500 pounds less than duals.
But they have a better footprint.
Yeah,
they're the duals.
Superior tire by
way
far.
Better.
Yeah.
Way better.
So, but we added a lot of stuff to this. We added like a couple thousand pounds in iron. We added
the transmission was way heavier.
The engine was heavier. It has compound turbos. We extended the hood and the frame. We added another 40 some gallons of oil capacity. The drop box in the back. There's just a lot of stuff was added to this tractor to do what it does now.
So, like in my mind, I was thinking about that 54,000 pounds is what I was thinking in my brain.
Yeah, maybe add like another 10,000 pounds.
That's what I was thinking.
So when
it's full of fuel.
Yeah, when Dennis took it down to the show.
Well, it's not full of fuel now.
Yeah, we had it about a little over it's got a little over a third of fuel in it. It's kind of like, what is that?
And the fuel capacity on this thing is 500 gallons.
Yeah, 500 gallons, but the tanks are rounded as they get more as they go up, so it's kind of hard to measure. But with that, it had a little over a third of fuel in it when we took it to the farm shows. When they went across the scales, the tickets came in at 48,000 pounds is what that tractor weighed crossing the scales.
Which was very surprising to me.
A little less than I thought, yeah. So add that extra 300 some gallons of fuel in it. When you top off fuel all the way, you're looking at about 51,000 pounds. Maybe closer to 52. So a little over 50,000 pounds with this tractor weighs, which is actually going to be our heaviest tractor on the farm because the Series 3 we have is right at about 50 full of fuel. So it's a little heavier. Now, there's plenty of room on this thing. If we wanted to add more weight to it, we could. I'm sure you may, I don't know, I still have yet to actually know if you can add beet juice to these Ellis Dubs. Maybe you can. We don't need the weight right now.
Right.
That's fine.
Now, granted, in our type of farming, we don't have a tremendous amount of big hills to climb.
No.
So we don't necessarily need to have a crazy amount of weight to try to crawl these hills and pull this iron. As the implements get bigger, like you get a bigger air cart and bigger toolbar, things will change. Then you might have to start looking at putting more. But the thing is, our other two big bud tractors are going to be at that limit too. So
we might
right now, this is workable. This is great for us
at
this point in our lives. So
maybe our horsepower is a little excessive for the weight.
We didn't
but it just fit. Yeah, 700 is great.
It was already set at 700.
Why not get more horsepower, then you can add weight later, right? So anyways, that's what the tractor weighs. I would have liked it. They try to stick around 1,000 pounds per horsepower. So that really, we should be about 70,000 pounds, really, if you want to go buy the book.
But if you think about when the tractor was built, it was set at 450 horsepower.
Yeah, so 45,000.
So 450, so it's 45,000 pounds, which is what they built it roughly for. This engine is the same cubic inch engine. Just set at 700 horsepower.
We just didn't add that much iron, enough iron to get it that heavy. But so if it got to that 60,000 pounds, that'd be probably where it'd be a great place for it. But you know, we got Toby Tween air carts that adds a bunch of drawbar weight on it. It's more than plenty for what we need.
Right.
So anyways, that's the weight. So let's just say 51,000 pounds, $820,000, unless you take our labor out of it, and then it's $220,000. So for a $220,000 tractor, would you do this?
Well, then you got to take off all the sponsors for your own money. So $115,000, would you do this?
Yeah, would you do it for $115,000?
By the way, there's no way this thing would have happened without the sponsors.
Yeah.
We couldn't do it.
Thanks.
So thank you.
All right. Anyways, there we go. I think that's a wrap. So take care. God bless.
I almost forgot. If you guys would like a shirt of this big bud or like hats or something from our store, go to farmfocus.com and you can pick out a whole bunch of different things that my wife, by the way, did make. She did all this. She did this. She did, and she did that. She did that. You see? Yeah.
It's available for Christmas. Right there. In the hat. Comes in black. Anyways, back to him.
So anyways, if you'd like to support what she did and support what we did, and you want a gift for somebody or you want it for yourself, go to farmfocus.com or somewhere yonder, find us, and treat yourself.